Welcome, it's SVPod. Stanford Steve, Red, and he's just
not on your arm.
No, he's absolutely murdering a dragon that Oscar and Shannon brought. Just better that than my arm.
Yeah.
Repping Joe the Vandal today.
Okay.
Shout out to Mark.
SMU.
Shout out to Mark Schlereth.
Coach Rhett.
There's a lot. Got a lot on the card.
Okay. Just one card, though.
Just one. We managed to.
Can you read it?
We'll see. We got arrow. There's a lot of arrows and then sub arrows to the arrows. It's not my strength. I know what it means at the time. I always say, if I write something down, then I know what it is. But I've found that recently, maybe that's not true. We'll find out. All right, let's start with the Winnipeg Jets. How about that, huh?
What do we got?
Oh, they've won a lot of games. They're
Shifley.
They're 15-1.
We talk about them instead of the other Jets?
Pooptown.
Thank you.
You were right last week. Oscar, there's a squeaker in there, bud.
Yeah.
No, don't worry. Who cares?
Watch your arm, Oscar.
It's fine. It's fine.
He
found the squeaker. Now he's coming for you. Let's start with the college football rankings because, look, we delayed this and we'll continue to do this midweek pod after the rankings. We've reached the part, just 2 rankings in, where everyone is furious.
Yeah.
Just pissed. I'll start with this. There are 4 good teams in the Big Ten. 4. They're not 4 of the 5 best teams in America, but that's the way the ranking goes right now.
Mm-hmm.
4 of the top 5 are Big Ten. That's dumb. Not accurate. Not an accurate reflection. But what we see at the moment is that what matters most is that number in the right-hand column as opposed to the number in the left-hand column. Unless your name is Penn State, in which case you can lose to Ohio State and still be ranked ahead of Indiana, who hasn't lost. Also dumb. I don't want to be mad guy because lists, as we've learned through the years, not my strength. I would not be very good on this because I'd put my list together and then I'd forget like Miami or something. I'm just interested, Steve, in your treetops views, and then we can dig into some specifics.
You can't drop Georgia 9 spots after a loss to a team that is ranked now 11.
Well, they did.
Yeah, like that you're just setting yourself up for a disaster. Listen, this SEC thing is going to be – I was going through scenarios and –
What's the scenario?
Heard a little tribe today working out. It was good.
Did you?
Really good, yeah.
Hey, great 5. Love you forever.
Awesome. The idea of Notre Dame, where they are, because
8.
If we're weighing losses,
they lost to a middling MAC team.
Yeah, they're horrible.
All due respect, shout to DeKalb. Just shouting everybody out today.
And then they have a win over a good Louisville, who's all the way down at, what are they at? 19, ahead of Clemson.
Who they beat.
And
Clemson. That makes sense.
South Carolina's ahead of LSU, who they lost to. But anyway,
it's tricky.
Back to the teams that are going to make the playoff.
Yep.
No, just the idea of Notre Dame and that loss and what they feel. Miami all the way down 5 spots, biggest dropper besides Georgia. And then Boise dropping a spot, but then, still figuring out where they are in the bracket. Because that's where it really starts. Everybody wants to talk about the home games. I'm sure we'll talk about that. I don't know if you know, like, the 4 home games that would be. Did you see who the home teams would be?
Yeah, but I don't remember them right off the top of my head.
All teams in the North.
Which is great.
Playing teams from the South.
That would be,
you would like that.
A lot.
Okay.
Just the idea of some SEC team in a snow game would be just a blast to see. There's no guarantee it would be a snow game because snows, you know what I'm saying. Arbitrary. Maybe it snows, maybe it doesn't. I can't get too caught up in that bracket of what would be because it's not going to be
Correct.
that. My thing is just trying to ascertain what the committee is valuing. And they're telling you, I feel like different things.
Yeah, for sure.
There's no real application that feels like there's continuity.
Mm-hmm.
We could talk about Maction and how cool it was for Northern Illinois and their coach. That was, in the moment, that was great. Check out what has happened since then for them. Not great. Since Notre Dame, that's the outlier of the year that you're going to look back and go, wait, that really happened? Because it really did. I had forgotten how long ago it was. It was the 7th of September.
Yeah, I want to say it was the week after they beat A&M.
Right. They lose to Northern Illinois. Since then, the boys from DeKalb lost in overtime to Buffalo, lost to NC State. They lost to Toledo. They lost to Ball State. They're a 5-4 team. That's who Notre Dame lost to. And the committee is like, nah, it's all right. It's good.
Yeah.
They've got some big wins since, sure.
They've gotten better, every aspect.
And that's fine. But is it who they lost to is not disqualifying? At some point, if you're Georgia and your losses are at Bama in that epic game and at Ole Miss, who's currently in the grid, then the question's who'd you beat? Well, in Georgia's case, they'll say, well, we went to Texas, who you currently have third,
Correct.
who doesn't have a single win that's impressive, and they beat the shit out of them. That's what they did. And they also have a win against Clemson to start the year by 31. So those are wins they have against teams the committee says these are the good teams, including one of your top three, a home seed, that you beat by 2 scores. And it really wasn't that close. I don't know what matters. Is it who you beat or who you've lost to? And in a league like the Big Ten, where you're so top heavy and you might not play each other, Penn State and Ohio State don't play Indiana. They don't play Oregon. So there's really no cross-pollination, whereas in the SEC, it feels like this year, and it hasn't always happened, because Georgia, as we've joked, they've had some years where they had easy schedules, but the bill came due this year. Pretty much everybody's playing everybody that matters. Texas played Georgia. Texas played Bama. No, they didn't. Georgia played Bama. Georgia played Texas. Georgia's got Tennessee this week. For Georgia, it's pretty straight in front of you. Beat Tennessee this week.
Yeah. And then I'm looking at Tennessee. If they drop Georgia, if we'd have lost to Ole Miss like that, I don't know where that's going to put Tennessee.
Because they have a loss to Arkansas.
Yep.
Which on Arkansas's field. Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois in South Bend. Like, what losses are disqualifying? Are any? What wins? How do you value wins versus losses? How do you say Penn State can lose to Ohio State and they're already ahead of Indiana? What's Penn State done that's more impressive than Indiana?
At a whiteout.
And they beat Washington by more in the whiteout than Indiana did.
But it's because of the whiteout. They have it. You don't. Even though you have a white shirt on.
I'm not going to start getting into this and win games.
I know. You're still got to play. I'm not trying to do that to you.
I know you're not.
You'll have to play Penn State.
No. That has nothing to do with it. I'm just saying they beat them by more than Indiana did. But Indiana beat UCLA by more than you did. And that's what we have to do because they don't play each other. But they've lost. They've already lost to Ohio State. And they're still ahead of Indiana, which makes no sense. Their name is Penn State. And we know that their tradition is, if it were a basketball equation, the Candy Stripes in Indiana would get the nod because they're them and you're not. But they're not. We're talking about football. Go ahead.
Give me a team that would have a better record than Georgia with Georgia's schedule.
Nobody.
Right?
Look,
that's something they're not going to look at. But it's something like
that's the thing
it's insane.
But I'll be honest, that's the thing about college football fans that I cannot stand. And SEC fans do it more than anyone. They do if you played in the SEC, you'd be this. You don't know any of that. Because the thing about the sport is nobody thought that Bama would go to Vanderbilt and lose. Nobody thought that Northern Illinois could go to Notre Dame and win. No one thought that Tennessee could lose to Arkansas except me, winners. I'm a savant. I'm not. You don't know anything for sure. it is fair to say that you're asked a hell of a lot more in the SEC this year than you are in the Big Ten. There's a bunch of it's top heavy. There are 4 teams. They're not 4 of the 5 best teams in America aren't in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
They're just not. But they're currently, and I'm Big Ten Scotty. Don't forget that. For a decade, look it up.
Okay, would you agree with me on this? Indiana and BYU would not be undefeated if they played Georgia's schedule.
Of course not.
Okay.
Listen, BYU, you guys, and let's say this, you showed me that was a hold. The last time Steve and I were sitting in these spots, well, I was here and he was wherever he was, Lafayette or Baton Rouge. There's a hold, and we're both like, whoa. I hate it for you, Utah, but that was a hold. Pretty clear hold. And then after that, you could stop them. And they didn't. All the credit in the world to BYU for going down and winning that game. But I'm telling you, I watched Oklahoma State, who has stopped competing, nearly beat you. You got a miracle win against a really bad football team in Oklahoma State. And you were very, very fortunate to come back and win at Utah, but you battled your butts off in the second 30 minutes. I'll give you that. But to Steve's point, there's no chance in God's green earth if BYU, and I'm doing now the thing I just said I hate. But let's apply logic and reason to a BYU team that barely beat the non-competing Oklahoma State Cowboys and say, you think they're beating Alabama, Texas, Ole Miss, Clemson? Probably not. But there they are. We don't deal in hypotheticals. We deal in reality. But again, what are you valuing? Are you valuing the number on the left-hand column? If so, great. Are you asking yourself a critical question? Who'd they beat? Who'd they beat? Because it doesn't seem like we're doing that.
But again, I will mention, and that's with the quality wins, like, it's hard to stack, like, you talk about the criteria. What are we looking at? What are they taking into consideration? It's hard. Like, look at Texas's schedule. They're in the SEC. That was the schedule that was given to them. Who's their chance to get a quality win? One game?
Who?
Texas.
Yeah.
Like that's an SEC schedule. Missouri's schedule is not that hard.
No, it isn't.
Like, Texas comes in the SEC, and then look at Oklahoma's schedule. Like, they play everybody. They still have to play teams. So the idea of who did you beat, I think, has to take a lesser
backseat
priority than it has in years past because of these conferences. You said the Big Ten, 4 of the best 5 teams in America. No. Can they prove it? Yeah, but
not really. They can't.
Well, if those 4 teams end up in the Final Four.
And if they get to host teams from the SEC, I'm so here for it. Because here's the good news. And I see people preemptively saying we got to expand it. Relax. Used to be 2 teams. Let's remember that. Then it went to 4. Now it's 12. There's still going to be people pissed off. Sorry. SEC fans, I'm sorry. You're not going to get to have 8 teams of the 12. It's just, sorry. It's math. But there'll be some chances where these teams that forever have said you wouldn't beat them if this, well, they're going to play each other.
Yeah. Just one last thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious Indiana has a 1-game season to make the playoff.
Yes, they do. And my question's this. We've watched Penn State play Ohio State a lot in these last few years, and it's the same script, and it was again this year. They're not a lot better than you. Maybe they're essentially the same. It's a coin flip, but the coin flip keeps coming up.
Now when it happens this way many times.
I agree, but I'm just saying the game script follows a similar thing, and in the end, you come up short. You lost a close game. Your 4th and 1 could have tied it, or 1st and goal, I should say, from the 1 you didn't tie it. Blah blah blah. Lost a close game on your home field, and you're still ranked ahead of the team that has to go to the shoe and play them. If Indiana loses a close game, is that disqualifying? Shouldn't be.
No, it's not for Penn State.
Correct. And then I would pound the table and scream at the room in the committee and be like, what has Penn State done to demonstrate that they're better than an Indiana team that has dominated the opponents they've played. We can do the strength of record. I believe Georgia's is by far the best. We can do the strength of schedule.
Georgia's one.
Strength of record and strength of schedule.
I know Georgia's strength of schedule is one.
I don't know, man. The thing is, the committee, they'll never admit it, but we're all grown-ups here. They're just going to let go of the wheel. Let go and let God. They're just going to trust that things will sort themselves out. And last year, they were rooting with all of their hearts and souls for Louisville to win that game in Charlotte against Florida State. So they wouldn't have to do an icky thing. But Louisville couldn't get there. Florida State won, and then that Sunday morning we wake up and there's an A on that, and Florida State people are like, are you for real? That's the way it went. So the committee's going to hope that, and I don't want to, I'm guessing that the path for them would be made easier if Ohio State could win convincingly, and then over Indiana, and then you could say, well, hey, you guys were really good this year, but I wouldn't agree with that, but that would be the on-ramp to do that, right?
Yeah, it's going to be then you're open to a one-loss team in the Big Ten against possibly a three-loss team in the SEC.
And that's the thing where people get so irate about three-loss teams. And we said this before this even started, that will 3 losses be disqualifying? Probably not. Probably not. Whether it's this year or some year, that's just how it's going to go. That there'll be a way for a team that, if you lose to, quote unquote, the right teams. The thing I'd say about Georgia, as we talk right now, they just lost as badly as they get beat. They don't lose like that much. Ole Miss was better. Beat them by a couple scores. So Saturday in Athens, we don't know the quarterback situation for Tennessee. Their offense has been iffy to begin with. You need to stomp on them and just quiet the noise and just say, that's 60 we put on tape right there. That's who we are. Aggression. That's what I would think.
You just imagine that team meeting this morning. Guys, here it is. They don't even think you're a playoff team. Like they need any more motivation.
Kirby invents ammunition where there's none. Now, imagine him on the whiteboard. Just put him down, write down all the teams and say, we're not in the playoff. They don't think that we should be in the playoff. That would be enough, I would think.
Yeah.
ACC, Big 12, you get your one.
Yeah.
All I got for you on that. Right?
Yeah.
That's fine. Fine. Really going to be figuring out the back end of who on the SEC gets left out. And what's the mechanism for determining that? And we talked about this a couple weeks ago, being preemptively pissed off about if you don't even qualify to go to the conference championship game, and then the team goes and gets beaten, and then you jump them because you didn't have to play a game because you didn't earn the right to be in it, and then you get a reward for not losing in it. That could happen. That would suck.
I think also for the first time in forever, there's going to be, I should say first time ever, but we're going to have 12 teams. There's going to be a team that doesn't make that, I believe, that could win the national championship. But we'll never know.
Just a quick update. We've reached the portion of the dragon chewing.
There's no more dragon.
No. The inside of this. This is reminiscent. This is taking me back to the Otis days. You give Otis a toy. His goal was to get the stuffing of the toy out of it as quickly as humanly possible. And we've reached that portion now where the fluff from the dragon is now.
Use that for your Christmas decorations.
A lot that way. Quick aside. Last week we talked. The Halloween
stuff. Sent me a picture of the pumpkin. Thank you.
Right, I sent you a picture of the bitter beer faced pumpkin, where it was just. There are still some pumpkins, which, by the way, the ones that we didn't carve, we just left out there, and guess what? Little deer nibbling. I thought it was just your neighborhood deer.
No,
our neighborhood deer started chewing on the pumpkin. It's November.
Get rid of them.
Well, it just happened. So
I'm just going to tell you right now.
Yeah.
They open it up, and then those squirrels, they let the deer do all the hard work, and they come in, and they're basically like ants.
Our relationship with squirrels is pretty well documented through the years. Not my favorite. Give you guys a recommendation. Get yourself a Yankee flipper. If you like to feed the birds, get yourself a Yankee flipper. Hours of entertainment. November the 13th, Steve, is there a point? We talked about don't be one-uppers. I talked about stuff that was up too early. Thanksgiving is very late this year.
Very. More time to embrace it, people.
A great and underappreciated holiday, Thanksgiving. At what point can Christmas decorations go up in bulk? I say before Thanksgiving, especially when it's late.
It's gotten to that point. But we had a conversation last night at the dinner table because I noticed someone had a Christmas decoration on their iPad as their screensaver. And I'm like, what about Thanksgiving? But Thanksgiving's probably my favorite holiday. You know what I got?
What?
Daddy, Thanksgiving has the worst colors.
I said the same thing last week. Brown, orange,
yellow,
mud-colored, light brown, like poop brown, all due respect. No one wants to make a screensaver out of that.
Yeah.
And think about what do we get to do? Oh, look, I'm going to draw my hand, and then I'm going to put an eye on a little thing.
I feel like we did that from kindergarten to 6th grade.
Of course, they still do it, because guess why? This is a turkey. Let's be honest. Great food, awesome holiday, 72-plus hours of just obliterating food, lying on the couch and watching football. As for a screensaver and colors and decorations, sucks. It's the truth. Tell me I'm wrong. Christmas decorations are awesome.
They are.
All right, we're throwing our stuff up soon. Could be this weekend.
I did see one thing.
It's cold today, too.
On the internet,
makes you start thinking.
Cold. It's good.
We agree, but it's cold. It's cold enough. Listen, when it's 78, it's kind of hard to go, hey, where's that snowman? I'll throw it on the front porch. Go.
So, speaking of Thanksgiving, I've always said, the leftovers, you get that stuffing, turkey. You don't like gravy, a little gravy.
I don't like gravy?
Oh, you don't like gravy? Oh, you have your own gravy.
I own gravy boat.
So.
Joking?
Here's what you don't like.
I don't like it on the sandwich. I don't do a sandwich with the gravy.
God, that's the best part. So anyway, these people that have like the waffle makers, they're shown, everybody's sending me now, and they just throw everything in the waffle maker, slam it, and you got a pot pie waffle. It looks unbelievable.
And throw that on a plate and pour just an absolute river of gravy. Oh, my God.
So, it's in the works.
I'm aroused. Food arousal. Yeah. You know what I'm saying.
Oh, it smells.
That does sound good. We got anything else on this? Do we need to talk about from the rankings perspective? Georgia, Tennessee's it might be an eliminator for Tennessee. I think it's definitely
for Georgia too.
Well, for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I say for sure? Somebody'd be sitting there next week going, Paul, look at the dog schedule. Paul. They wouldn't be wrong.
Ooh,
but at some point, you can't just keep losing games.
No.
Yeah, Texas. So Indiana hosting Alabama. Sign me up for that. Penn State hosting Ole Miss. I'm sure Penn State fans remember the bowl game last year. Like, oof. Tennessee hosting Notre Dame. Okay. And BYU sitting there waiting for the winner. I mean, you think they're better than the people in the left-hand column? I don't.
No, that's.
I get it. I understand it. I'm just saying.
You'll have them.
BYU?
Yeah.
I'm going to have Kansas this week.
Oh.
BYU's at home laying 3 to a 3-6 team.
Good 3-6 team. Might be the best 3-6 team.
I gave Kansas some winners last week. Dudes were open all day long. We talked about that.
Very good.
All I'm thinking about right now is a waffle maker with stuffing, potatoes.
I'll send you.
Just mash it. Oh, my God. That's outrageous. NFL talk? I want to start with who's really good, not Pooptown. I've spent too much time in the negative space about how much bad ball there is. And that actually led to a conversation. And doesn't this happen every year? It does. Last year, there were so many backup quarterbacks in. I understand it. But let's talk good. And let's not talk, you're on record for the last 2 months. Detroit, most fun to watch, best watch.
Best watch.
I think that's the best win, the most important win for that team, because they were on the road against I don't know how good the Texans are. They're good enough. They're playoff good. They're in a terrible division. But that first half, that looked pretty good to me. 23-7. Texans cooking. And Detroit comes out, blanks them in the second half, wins on a walk-off field goal from 52 after Bates hit from 58. And they come back from down 16. And wins like that, I would think, are so important because you weren't great. Your quarterback throws it to the wrong team 5 times. Doesn't matter. And now they're 8-1. Best record in the NFC. And Chiefs haven't lost, but this is a little bit of that committee, your ranking, your losses, whatever. I mean, Detroit feels like the best team in the NFL at the moment to me. That's what I think they are.
You still got to put Kansas City.
You should block the field goal, and if you don't block that field goal, then we could say Detroit's better.
But they did.
Can't argue with that. Can't argue with that. And Kansas City, I don't know, look at their schedule. Buffalo game this week. That's the one game that feels like the most obvious to lose, which means they'll go up there and win.
That Buffalo?
Let's go, Buffalo. Western New York, Mafia. People pass down the street for days.
Setting themselves up for another letdown.
Don't do that to our friends in Western New York.
They know more than anybody.
It's fair.
But they have a good time doing it, and I appreciate that.
That's also true.
Yeah.
That's also true. You watch them, man, and it's teams like Detroit has sections where it just looks so easy. And they get Jahmyr Gibbs running this way, and Goff rolls a pocket to the right, and Laporte is wide open. Buffalo doesn't get anything that looks easy. Everything looks like it's just hard to get, and
that's not a good way to live in that league.
That's the thing that
you need something to be able to go to.
They don't have that.
No.
Well, you know what? Yes, they do. Snap it to 17.
There you go.
Do something, Josh. Okay, I will. That's fantastic, but not a lot looks easy for them. But listen, not a ton looks easy for the Chiefs. But the thing with them is when it gets down to the games in the balance and you have to get them off the field, you don't, because you can't, because Mahomes just chucks it to Kelsey or whatever. He missed Kelsey the other day in the end zone wide open, and he missed Worthy 2 yards into the secondary wide open. And if that was a lesser quarterback, he'd be crushed for it. The internet would be like, look how open this guy is. Quarterback X, overrated, stinks. Blah,
Screenshot.
blah, blah. Screenshot. Listen, you don't have to do a screenshot. Kelsey's standing by himself, and Mahomes airmails it. Worthy is gone, and he misses him. But you want to know the thing about Mahomes? There's that trophy case, and no one does that with him, which is great. And it's instructive that maybe in the moment you miss a throw. That's all right, especially when you're a guy who has trophies, multiple Super Bowls, MVPs, the whole bit. It just adds another sort of week of, he hasn't been the guy he has been in the past, which is just, I think, the thing that could trick lesser people, not this smart mind, into thinking, ooh, they're vulnerable. No, they're not. They're not ever going to lose a game, maybe ever. I won't be the guy that says it because I doubted him last year. Not doing it again. There you go.
There you go.
Who else is good? Is Arizona good?
Yes.
I agree. They got the ball and went down the field 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. Murray was excellent the other day against the Jets. Connor continues to be a very, very reliable weapon, both in the running and passing game. I think that's the underrated part of him. They just flip it to him, and he's a big guy going downhill. He's good.
Yeah.
They lead that division, and I think if people are going to wait for them to fall off, they're going to be waiting a while. I think Arizona's a good football team.
Yep. It's that, not recency bias, but, we've seen the Niners do it. We've seen the Rams, McVay, and Stafford do it.
They're new. People like whatever's new. People
not
like
to give credit to the new teams.
They typically. I'll tell you a team has a good record that I have no idea if they are or they aren't. Good. Go Chargers, go! 6-3. I would like to list for you the quarterbacks they've beaten. Gardner Minshew, Bryce Young, Bo Nix, Spencer Rattler, Jameis Winston, and Will Levis. Those are the 6 quarterbacks that they have defeated. Would you like to know how many playoff games and those quarterbacks I just listed have competed in? 0. Not a 1. The next 4 games they play are against these quarterbacks: Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Kirk Cousins, Patrick Mahomes. I made this point the other day on SportsCenter. I think I might have said something about this last week. This is like you got a report card and you got all A's. Great. You're about to start taking harder classes. And if you keep getting A's, then we'll know more. I just think they've got a really good GPA. They just haven't taken any higher level classes. Burrow and Cincinnati come in. And this is where my blind spot for Cincinnati is such that I'm convinced they're good. And I still have the leftover hurt from what happened to them the other night and what happened to them week 5 against Baltimore. They lost 2 games to the Ravens. They had double-digit leads in both of them. So maybe the point is, hey, if Van Pelt of Cincinnati were so good, they'd win those games. I just think they've been challenged, and the Chargers just haven't.
Yeah, it just feels like you come in every week with something on the Chargers. Lastly, it was like, you do the thing with who'd you beat?
Yep.
And then I said, we're past that point.
Nope.
I don't look at that stuff and matter. Like if they come on and lose to those quarterbacks, then it all evens out and they're still in a chance to make the playoffs. So I've said it from the beginning. He's going to be a hard ass. They're going to be a pain in the ass to beat. They got a superstar as a defensive coordinator. You saw what he did at Michigan and Minter. And hearing Harbaugh talk about Herbert on Pat's show was just hilarious. It was
the video of him that you showed me yesterday of him pregame.
He calls him our guardian of victory. Like how he keeps coming up with stuff. And yeah, some of it's corny. I go back to the guys that played for him at Stanford, like the way he made them put on like gas station shirts just, to get that union feel when they had the tunnel workers union at Stanford. That's what he called the offensive line. We got to do that to create the run game. Like it's always something. And it's, again, to the Cardinals point, it's fresh, it's fun, it's not having to talk about the Cowboys and the Jets. I'm in. Give me the Chargers. Probably lose this week. I don't care. They're still going to be in there. And I've said it from the beginning. You put them on tape and you watch and opposing teams are like, oh, shit, they're going to do this. And they do everything that is a pain in the ass to defend or go against as an offense.
Minter is going to be a head coach. Everyone seems to see the writing on the wall with that. 41-year-old guy. Their defense is excellent. I'm simply saying this analogy about the getting A's in classes that aren't difficult, I believe I wouldn't make it if I thought it was sort of a reach. I think it's the best way to frame it. It is middle of November. So does it matter that this is who you play? No, just like you talked about earlier with college teams. You can only play who your schedule's got on it. So I'm not faulting the Chargers. I'm not trying to discredit the record. I'm framing it the way I see it. That when I watch them, I go, all right, cool. Ultimately, you're going to have to prove you can beat good teams if you're to be taken seriously the way Baltimore and Kansas City are. Your counter could be cool, and Baltimore lost to the Raiders and the Browns. They sure did. I got no counter to that. I just look at this next month for the Chargers and believe that it's an opportunity for them to show, hey, listen, you're right, Van Pelt. Cool analogy. We got A's in the 100 level classes. Well, now we got some A's in the 200 level classes. And I'll say, bully for you. You're good. I don't know that their record's good. I just don't know that you could tell me how beating these people they're beating makes them good.
I just look at the teams that lose those games.
That's a great counter. That's a great counter.
This is a guy that didn't get A's in the easy classes or the hard classes. So I appreciate the guys that get A's.
How many A's you get at Stanford? How many A's?
Oh, God.
Let me tell you, buddy.
Not many.
I'm just going to tell you. You don't need two hands for the A's that I got at Maryland. You don't need two hands. God, that's embarrassing. Because I'm smart, I think. But I was definitely going to play baseball stars, go to Bent's, and play pickup. Class,
figure it out in the morning.
When's the exam? Let me find that book, crack it open. Spine hasn't been bent. Let me open that one up and get the highlighter out.
Did you ever, like the first day of class, did you ever go to multiple classes to get the syllabus? To see like what you were looking at? Like, I might do this one. Did you ever do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Or you'd send someone to
that's my next question.
You'd send one of your agents.
How many semesters did it take for you to be like, hey, you're going to that? Oh, you're going to yeah, just
grab me that syllabus.
Stop on by after. Get a game of Madden.
NHLing. I had syllabus mules.
Do I know any of them?
Not really.
No.
Okay. No, because none of those guys were. There was a map class that I was in. This is a true story. I took a class. It was like a map, geography, maps, or whatever. I don't even know what it was. All I know is this. This is a true story. I took it pass fail. I don't remember going a lot, but it was like, if you pass this last test, you're good. You'll pass the class. And we figured out the deal. Like every other chair was the same exam. And I ended up on the back end of the flying pica wedge, where there was a point guy up front and then back to the right, back to the left.
Don't get too wide. Don't be too far back.
I was on the back end of the wedge. And hand to God, there were several people in the wedge I was relying upon to get the A, B, C, or D right, who were on hallucinogenics the night before. So I'm sitting there going, what an asshole. It's a pass-fail class. I had to show this much effort or interest in this, and I'd be fine. And now here I am on the back end of a couple of deadheads who probably still don't know who or where they are, and I'm trusting them to get the answer right from the guy in front of them, And I showed up 2 weeks later to this lecture hall that's going to be on the wall. It had the last four of your social, and it had what you got. And I show up, and I'll be damned, there was a P next to my name. It's one of the miracles of all time. How it happened, I have no idea. Kids, if you're listening, it's not that hard to just put in a little effort and interest into your own education. Do it. Don't do what Uncle Scott did, because it's an embarrassment.
The idea of not knowing what the answer is on the test gets really old. I'll just tell you that.
Yeah. You have blue book tests?
Oh, yeah.
I would just fill blue books with absolute bullshit. Layers and layers of bullshit. Just elaborate tales of nonsense. I was telling my kids about that the other day. I don't lie to my kids. I tell them the truth. I'm like, listen, your mom got basically all A's. Dad got none. And they're like, well, you didn't do it. I'm like, no. And I did a terrible job. An embarrassment. Looking back, an embarrassment on what I sincere regret. Would have been nice to learn stuff. I didn't.
I find it confusing the way they teach in math now.
I don't even try to help.
I'm not a math guy.
I don't even try to help. Meanwhile, my daughter, give her a little nod. Recent all A's. I said, you should be proud. She said, I am. I said, good. That's important. She's diligent, cares, works hard. She's going to be like her mom.
Not like you.
Charlie might be like his dad. We'll see. All
right, who's good?
I'm going to add Washington and Pittsburgh are both good. They played a really interesting game. They both play really interesting games next week. I think they were kind of what's it called? The fulcrum? Is that a word? See if I'd taken my. I actually did all right on the verbal stuff. They're in an interesting pivot points for both. Pittsburgh wins a game where they were down 10. Sour grapes to say Ertz had the first down. I thought he did. The 4th down and 9 throw late, they had to get to the Pittsburgh 41. I'm like, if that's the goal line and Ertz catches it, they're saying it's a touchdown. He crossed that line with the football. They 1,000% would have said touchdown. But they didn't, and they said he missed it. Washington still would have had to have made a field goal to win the game, but I thought they should have had that chance. Didn't happen. So we're left to say, all right, you lost the game. Now you got to go to Philadelphia. They're getting back.
Mailata.
Yeah, Mailata. He's a gigantic piece of that puzzle. So it's a Thursday night short week in Philly. They now lead the division because they beat Dallas. This is where Washington's good. I believe that, but Washington's going to find out how good this week because it's the first time that they lost a game they could have won. Chicago could have been that team, didn't happen. And Pittsburgh. I think if people were wondering or doubting or like Russell Wilson's shown you. He makes plays. Some of them feel pretty miraculous, but they make plays. That throw to Williams, I asked Tim the other night, I said, was that a red line? Kind of ironic. He's like, yeah, that's the red line right there. You guys know what happened in New York, the red line pick.
Mike Williams hashtagged it.
Did he?
Yeah.
Good for him. Good for him. Touchdown, and they win by 1. I believe those are both two good football teams. Different in Pittsburgh, you got a better defense to trust, and you got a veteran quarterback who's done it. In Washington, I think you're still learning. You're still going to have to grow. I think you learn a lot about Washington on Thursday night in Philadelphia.
Yeah, a couple things. You really saw what Russell likes to do offensively to me. When he could set up and throw outside the hashes, that's his deal, right? Everybody loves the moon ball or whatever they call it. And he loves it. We saw it in person against the Giants. We saw it in big spots. I just think it's ironic. People love him because it's completed. Like, like it's he throws a great deep ball. Yeah, a great deep ball is when it's caught and it's catchable. And, the offense comes running up to run the next play or celebrate a touchdown. One thing stood out to me. Jaden looked cold.
Cold? Okay.
Just an observation I had.
California guy who played in Arizona State and played in Baton Rouge. Not cold, not cold, not cold.
It's not going to get any warmer.
It also doesn't really snow here, so I'm
it really didn't affect his play. I'm just an observation I had. I watched the game with no voice on. I was on the plane. But just
okay. And you thought he looked cold. I thought he would have looked warmer if his receivers didn't drop the football all day. That might have helped. Lauren continues to play great. They got to find that second guy that can be
the best.
He's so good. So good.
Get B-Rob back, too, I think, this week.
Think so. Eckler's been really, really good. Comeback season for him.
That's what you need. Like, that's like everybody had their feelings about why you got him, but that's why you got him. Spot starts. He's still effective. He's a great pass catcher out of the backfield. And now you get your guy back, hopefully with some fresh legs that didn't have some hits the last couple of weeks. The one thing I'll say about with Jaden is, you watch these young guys, it's like, tough spot. I just don't want to get blown out. You're always in the game with him, man. It's really, really cool to see the confidence he plays with. Just saying you look cold. That's it.
It's fair. Could be important down the road. We'll see. Might be chilly tomorrow night. Pittsburgh and Baltimore, good.
Mm-hmm.
Houston?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Okay. I think so.
Had a bunch of difference makers not play, and they're getting them back.
That's
what I said last week. I just want to see how they compete, match the physicality of Detroit. Obviously, blow a big lead, but I'm not worried about them. The problem is they're going to have to prove they could go on the road and win in the playoffs. And in a dome against the Colts last year, yeah. Then they go to Baltimore. They're there for 30. But to get to 60, you got to play another 30. That wasn't there. So
that's how math works, kids. Old school
addition.
math. I can't discuss the Minnesota-Jacksonville game. It was that bad. Jacksonville had under 150 yards. Bears have had under 150 yards twice. We're working our way towards Pooptown. Atlanta loses again. They're 6-4. I think they're good. Tampa loses. They're 4-6. I know they're good. In 1 week, that team played Kansas City and San Francisco, the two teams in the Super Bowl. And we signed up for 60. Kind of not a joke. It's about a mentality. That team battles their balls off, and I respect the hell out of them. They lost them both. And the win for San Francisco was enormous. They messed around and lost a couple of games this year. Great teams don't do that, okay? That's why I can't figure Baltimore out in these games, like against Cleveland, against the Raiders. Like, you're really good. How do you lose these games? Great teams don't do that. San Francisco screwed around and lost a game to the Rams. They had a double-digit lead. Same thing happened with Arizona. Here's a game on the road against Tampa Bay. Short week. They're down some dudes. Like, all right, put it to bed. They couldn't. They got their kickers, him, Debo, and the long snapper. People are getting a little salty over there. They won that game. McCaffrey makes such a massive difference, as we know, and it's not the run game as much as it's the pass game. That's where he kills you. And so I don't think it's a stretch to believe that this team will do what it's done in the past and finish with a fury and be either the division winners or a wild card. We agree there?
Oh, yeah.
All right, some news here from a team that's not in Pooptown. They're just sort of caught in the middle. Colts go back today to Anthony Richardson. I saw Big Cat said Shane Steichen's just coaching off vibes. I don't think it's that as much as I think that when they were 4-4 in a division that's no runaway winner, you looked at Flacco and thought, the way he looked earlier this year, all right, we're going to start him against Minnesota and Buffalo. Well, they lose them both. And now it's like, all right, we're probably not a playoff team. But we drafted Richardson 4th. We want to find out what the guy's going to do. It's harder to justify, like in the same way that guys would talk about you lose your locker room if you don't play Flacco because everyone sees what he can do. At 4-6, after you draft a guy where you draft him, I don't think you lose a locker room, but I just think organizationally now is the chance to find out what is the guy. So that's what they do. He'll start this week on the road against the Jets, and they have Detroit coming in.
Colts are playing
at the Jets, who I was told had a good defense. I don't know if they do at the moment. You have any thoughts on Richardson? Like, just sort of, is it?
It's interesting to see how much quarterback run they do, because that was the thing that stuck out. Was like that Minnesota Sunday night game. He's a statue back there. You saw Flores, who continues to be awesome in press conferences, talking about what's the new trend and what am I going to do to stop the trend. Really, really cool about being ahead of your opponents, and he gave all the credit to Belichick and Tomlin. It was really good. But you have Minnesota in the good?
I do.
Where do you have Green Bay?
I think they're fine.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of them.
I don't either. Off a bye. Here's the thing about Green Bay. Love got all the money.
Quickly.
It's the way it goes these days.
It's scary, man.
About how quick dudes get cash?
Yeah.
This will be an interesting summer to go back and apply the grades to, like Lawrence, he's out again this week. He got 275. That team stinks. Who are the best teams that the Green Bay's played this year? I'm doing the same thing with the Chargers that I do with them. They played Philadelphia, they lost. Played Minnesota, they lost. They played Detroit, they lost. You got wins against the Colts, the Titans, the Rams, the Cardinals. That win looks better in retrospect. Good win over Houston, a back-and-forth game, and Jacksonville. Now you play the Bears, who are a disaster. I don't know. I don't mind saying
they're a
that.
question mark.
I don't know. Looking at the back of the NFC, though, I think where they will likely fall, because Detroit's going to win that division, is you're battling with Minnesota, the loser of Washington, Philadelphia, and you're not going to have to battle anybody from the NFC South. And it's who can ascend in the West. Does Arizona stay where they are? Does San Francisco continue to move up? Then if you're Green Bay, that's the group you're with. Started to make something like if you're trying to make a certain team but that was never going to be you because you were always the best player on the team. If you're looking around at the people you're competing with for time, that seems to be the space where they're living, I would think.
Yeah, I think Tampa's a better football team, but they're not going to end up.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I think their biggest issue is they've already played Detroit and Minnesota at home and lost both those games. You don't want to be 0-2 in your division on your home field.
Nope.
They are. Ladies and gentlemen, the laundry list that is Pooptown. A lot of bad ball. The people that say it's always like this, is it? I just don't remember how it feeling as like there are as many teams that when I look at, it's like blackjack. You play blackjack, there's more tens in the deck, in the shoe rather than anything else. 10, jack, queen, king, king, you figure it out. 4 suits, 16 times 16. There's 96 face cards in a shoe if you play standard. Well, when you get that face card, you're like, ooh, we got to have a chance to have a good hand. It feels like there are lots of 5s and 6s in the NFL these days. So you get games where it's a good team, you get your face card, and then you get a 4. Oh, this hand isn't very good. This week you get a lot of face card. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Buffalo, Kansas City, Washington, Philadelphia. Okay, but then that means that the rest is going to be probably
Where are we going? Texans, Cowboys?
Dallas.
All right.
Not terrible.
Not great.
Correct.
That's not 2 10s.
Not two. We do not have a made hand here. And maybe I don't think, I mean, obviously it's how I feel. How I feel is not wrong. I just feel like there's so many times where these windows of games are like, is there anything that doesn't feel like dreck? It's because Pooptown is this crowded. Are you ready?
Play it.
New England Patriots.
Pooptown.
New York Jets.
Thank you. Play it.
Pooptown.
Cleveland Browns.
Pooptown.
Tennessee Titans.
Pooptown.
Jacksonville Jaguars.
Pooptown.
Las Vegas Raiders.
Pooptown.
New York Giants. Home, away, Germany. Wherever.
I watched the whole game.
Pooptown.
We'll come back to that. The Chicago Bears.
Pooptown.
Yes.
Firing coordinators, cutting offensive linemen. It's that game against New England. And New England, you guys have won some games, but you can't get out of Pooptown. That's the rule by beating a team in Pooptown. You sacked them, what was it, 19-3. The Bears lost 19-3 at home against New England. Couldn't do anything. Had under 150 yards for the second time in a game. You know how bad that is? You know how hard that is to do? And then people do the things with the screenshots and they're showing. And some of it's helpful and it's instructive because it's like, are any of the receivers winning? They're doing all these things where he's holding. Yeah, he holds onto the football already for a long time. And then you run these concepts that take forever to get open. No one's open, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Pooptown, Bears. Seattle at home, the good news for them is 3 of their next 4 aren't at home. Maybe we'll see a different Seattle.
Pooptown.
The New Orleans Saints.
Pooptown.
Just beat Atlanta. They're still in Pooptown.
Great.
Carolina's won 2 in a row. First winning streak in more than 2 years. But who'd you beat? Saints, the Giants. Both in Pooptown. We're going to let you move out of the worst suite in Pooptown. Consider letting you break your lease.
We'll let you invite a guest this week.
There you go. But you're still there. Is there any argument to be made that I'm being too harsh with this? That there's teams.
How many teams?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 with a team that's, hold on a minute. Excuse me. At least 10.
Who's teetering?
Seattle. Can't lose 4 games at home.
Okay.
Seattle's teetering. I don't know if there's anybody that can get out of it. I don't see anybody.
I want Carolina to get out of it.
Why? Are you rooting for Bryce Young?
For sure. Watch the game. Entertaining game. Who would have known?
Was it close or entertaining?
Both.
Okay.
Both teams moved the ball. It was just bad turnovers in the red zone.
That's what happens when you're stuck in Pooptown.
Oh, I saw some first downs converted. Chuba Hubbard. I mean, they gave him the ball a lot. It was good to see success. Danny Euros.
Wait, the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, how could we forget?
I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's
5,
11.
6, yeah, they're at least 11.
I made fun of you for not being able to read your writing, and now you can't read your numbers.
Just forgot to write Dallas down. Again, lists, not my
Fine,
strong
leave
suit.
them out of it. We don't need it.
No, they're in it. They're in it.
No, but I'm talking about, like, we don't need to talk about them.
No,
we're
we
going to
don't.
have to go watch them in person Monday night.
But the good thing is it'll be night, so that people won't be talking about the sun as if the ball that CD dropped is the reason they lost a game. They lost by 28 points.
But you love Jerry World.
As a venue?
Yeah.
Spectacular place.
Better than SoFi.
SoFi as a stadium is way better, but there is zero atmosphere in that place.
What?
Zero. None. Other than the fans of the other team that come, Dolphin fans. I mean,
They had a club next to our set. They kept it open for an hour. People were wrecked.
Yeah, you know the thing about going to a game in LA, everyone is either famous or they look famous adjacent. Or they're famous, and I've aged out of the demo that they're famous in, but everyone has fabulous gear and the whole thing, the vibes. A lot of felt famous. Maybe just regular citizens. Maybe that's just how people from San Bernardino get down. Is that a place that's near Los Angeles? We're flying out of Los Angeles, and I'm like, God, it goes forever. I don't know anything about California. You were driving around.
Unbelievable. I sat behind you and watched you look out the window in the car and on the plane, and it's you're just astounded. You're just looking around. It's like,
I don't understand, like, where's Rosillo live? Oh, he's over here by
told
this.
you 10 times.
I know it's near LAX.
It's Manhattan Beach. It's the best place.
But
it's 2 minutes from LAX.
But I don't know where that is in relation to where we're driving.
What city was our hotel in?
Santa Monica.
Where's that?
In California. By the beach. I didn't there's the Pacific. It's beautiful. We're leaving at the crack of dawn, and it's a beautiful sunrise. There's the ocean, and you're like, this is pretty good. I could see why this would be great. But then we start driving, and I don't know where we are. I'm an East Coast person. I've said this forever. Don't change my watch. I'm an East Coast guy.
You don't change your watch?
No, why would I do that? Whatever time it is on the East Coast is what time it is.
There's watches now that change automatically. You don't wear those watches.
Not a date-just Oyster Perpetual. We've moved up from the Bovado. I still owe some. I think I still owe Bloomingdale's for that. Yeah, it's fine. Why am I an idiot? I'm not from there. Why am I supposed to know it? There aren't Rams fans. There just aren't that many of them. But there are more of them than there are Charger fans.
That's a fact.
You've said that. That's your line. I stole it. So in the Baltimore...
It's not a compliment.
Well, no, it's just, they're from San Diego.
I still, the least amount of fans I have ever met are the Cardinals.
That makes sense.
Like, I know one.
They're from St. Louis, then they moved to Arizona, so you probably wouldn't have crossed paths with a lot.
But, like, they've been in Arizona a long time.
Yeah. The Jets were in Pooptown. They're terrible.
They weren't.
I don't know.
I had them in. Now they're in.
You were right. I talked myself into them looking at their schedule being like,
It's like Woody said.
And Aaron goes on with Pat, and like I saw someone tweet out, the Jets lead the league in best weeks of practice. Awesome.
Cool.
They didn't have a chance. And they come out afterwards and Ulbrich says, I didn't have them ready. And Devontae said they didn't feel like they had energy. It's like, fellas, you got 17 of these. Like, we start at 4:05, whatever time that is local. Arizona's in that weird thing where I never know if is that mountain? Is that air? They just
It's
have
more Pacific than you think.
whatever. We got to stop doing the thing with a clock. This light, dark, early stuff is nonsense. Time's fake anyway. Just it's a fake construct. Think about it. Who says what time it is? Who got to determine that? This is a whole other conversation. But the Jets, this is all part of the thing about the trade I made also. It's just bleeding into my psyche. Jones apparently isn't going to play anymore for the Giants. Good. He shouldn't. Move on. They're going to bench him because they don't want to owe him the money. So
that's the Russell Wilson thing?
And the Derek Carr thing.
Wow.
So that means it would be Drew Lock. Fine. That's who the Giants would go to.
So that means like that touchdown stat for Daniel Jones at home, like, is not going to get any better.
It would appear not.
Oof. I think it's 3 now all year. And then people with the injury and all that go back. I think it was like 800 days. All right.
It's hard for me not to get a little personal because the draft night when he got picked, and I was like, I never dreamt that I was watching a guy that would go top 10. And then when he had some good runs, I had Giant fans just heckling me. Like, how'd that work out?
The best thing I saw is somebody sent out this morning a clip of McShay the day after he was drafted on First Take. And they asked him, how should Giants Giants fans feel surprised? He said, not surprised, disappointed. He's a backup quarterback in this league. That's why McShay's the best.
Bang.
What else you got?
Just looking at the teams that are bad. The Chicago situation, it felt like early this year they were talking themselves into it that they're good, even though they won that game against Tennessee that was a complete catastrophe where Levis made a couple of mistakes. The defense, block, punt, pick six. They won a game with under 150 yards of offense. That now it's like literally I'm seeing think pieces about why the Bears shouldn't pull the plug on Williams. And this is what are we doing? This is the problem with coaches, with quarterbacks. You think everything is supposed to happen immediately. Go back to our ESPN radio days. I always reference the guy who said it, Trog Keller. He was an executive that made the point. You just have to let things bake. No one wants to make them bake. You want to just have microwave, and instantly it's done. You know what you could do with microwaves? You can heat stuff up. You know what you can't do? Cook a great dinner in a microwave. You can heat stuff up. It's for people that don't have the time or just want something immediately. Doesn't have to be great. We don't care. This Caleb situation, they got him all these weapons. No quarterback has ever stepped into a better situation than this guy. Really? That O-line was not what you thought it was. And they're whatever they are. They're not good. They're in Pooptown. All right. It's half of a season. What are you going to do? Punt? Again? And this is the stuff that I think about like the Giants. All right, you want to get rid of Dable? We both agree he's a good coach. Just doesn't have a quarterback. Give the guy a chance to get somebody else in there and see what happens. I just think that so much of the way people react, if you're Jones and the Giants, it's time. I'd be way more freaked out if I were Jacksonville and just gave $275 million to Trevor Lawrence.
No doubt.
Than I would if I'm the Bears. People just got to take a deep breath, but nobody does. So, all right. Write your think pieces about the Bears, but Jesus Christ, they're 9 games into, 10 games into a season. They're not good. Okay. You haven't been for a while. Take it from a guy whose team sucked for 3 decades. Hey, the sun comes out. Maybe. Warm it up for Jade, that'd be good. Who's the worst team in the NFL?
Tennessee.
I at least like their defense. They're minus 83 points. So is Vegas, and they had a bye. I
they're
think
right there.
I think Vegas is the team. It's just, boy. And it's all your quarterback situation. I mean, pretty simple. If you don't have one, you have no chance. So that's where we are with these teams. Anything else unrelated to NFL and whatever else you want to get to? You normally have some musings on life.
Yeah.
Observations.
So I got to L.A. Sunday, Santa Monica. Watch the.
That's right by El Segundo and out by Groton.
Go to the room with the guys, watching the games. End of the 1 o'clocks is over. Watch the 4 o'clocks with them. It's like, all right, but out there it's 4:30. They're like, hey, we're gonna meet in the lobby like 6:30, 6:45. I'm like, I'm going to lay down. If I lay down, I set my alarm, wake up 6:45. I'm like, guys, I'm out. I'm not going to dinner. I lay back down. Out cold. Use the restroom. I see my clock. It's 9:18. I'm like, oh boy. I don't know if it's 9:18 p.m. or 9:18 the next morning.
Which was it?
Which means like game day meetings 9 Eastern. I would have missed the whole thing. So that's, it's almost noon Eastern. Obviously the shades are closed. I open the shades not knowing what it is. I'm like, oh man, I missed the meeting. God damn it. It's pitch black. I'm like, it's only 9:18. Lay back down. 5:45. I slept though. So almost more than 12. Almost 13, 14 maybe.
That's the good stuff.
It was unbelievable.
When's the last time you went full zombie like that?
I don't know. Clothes on. Never under the blanket.
Shoes
nothing.
on or off?
Shoes were off.
Okay.
Shoes were off.
Because if you go 14 shoes on, then I'm going to wonder about everything. That's full hobo behavior.
Man.
All due respect.
Out. It was like, how was L.A. great? I'm like, we were going to the stadium. Like, I still haven't left the hotel yet.
I needed to do that last night because I'm right at that point with the travel, the late night, the early morning, where I'm going to get sick. You're wondering when's it going to happen. It started happening to me last night. I'm laying there. Putting the kids to bed. I fell asleep in every single kid's bed.
Starting at what time?
Before 8 o'clock with Charlie. Fell asleep with Charlie. Fell asleep with Sam. Fell asleep with Lila. I'm like, I'm going to bed. No, I'm not. Duke, Kentucky. Want to see it. By the way, all you Kentucky people that were all pissed off.
Yeah.
Rolling Stone said, you try sometime, you just might find you get what you need. Maybe hope is hope. Maybe one of your own. Let's see. Good win for them.
I didn't realize it was that long.
What, how long ago he was
Almost
there?
10 years since Kentucky beat Duke.
It's not like they play him every year, but they play him enough.
Yeah.
They play him enough. Flag was spectacular for a lot of it, but then in the end, he made some mistakes.
3 turnovers in the game. They all happened in the last 2 minutes.
So that gives people a chance to point and whatever. But did you watch the game? Because he looked like the guy they said he was for the game. So I watched that, and then, excuse me.
You watched the Warriors.
Started watching them.
Had to.
The Clay tribute was gorgeous. Loved it. That's beautiful. That's how you do it. And Clay talked about
Bay Area rallied for a guy that won them championships. Amazing how that works out there.
No, but he talked about how I'm not going to look back. No. Just do yourself a favor. Be open to let them hug you.
Yeah, enjoy it.
Let them love you. What you did, awesome stuff together. You're doing something different now. It'll never be better than what you did there. Never. So let that be a moment. And it was cool. So I start watching that. And then I have a weird thing. You don't say. I have a long list of things, idiosyncrasies, Rain Man type behavior, stuff I just do. Do you do Wordle?
No.
Okay, I do Wordle. For the folks out there that enjoy a little brain teaser, when do you do it? Because there's a new one every day, but only one a day. I do it every day before I go to bed. Midnight. So I'm laying there. Am I going to make it to midnight? At 12:01, I'm doing the Wordle.
Today's.
Correct. So I should have gone to bed at 9 o'clock because I was done and I didn't feel good. And then I could have gotten the 14-hour sleep. But because I need to do Wordle, and then I got to do connections. That's another fun one. You guys do Wordle and connections?
Brain teasers?
I don't know. And it's the dumbest thing because I've read articles about how the worst thing you could possibly do is before you go to bed, have your brain on. You should turn your brain off.
Shut it down.
Not me, buddy. There I am laying in bed doing the Wordle. You got to recalibrate that. You know what? I'll just do it later.
Prioritize.
It's going to be a hard one to break. Right? It's not quite the Diet Coke level.
Oh.
Was there somebody on the staff apparently last week that thought like I drank all 20 Diet Cokes?
No, they're just in amazement. They're in amazement at how many you drink.
I like them.
But I had to explain. I'm like, it's not all of them. Like, I'll have a couple. Notice RC, Diet Coke guy.
Ryan's a Diet Coke guy.
Yeah, and he hates it, but he loves it. And the love overpowers the hate.
That's how life should be.
Exactly.
Let love trump the hate. Let love overpower the hate. Don't let the hate win out. Love over hate. In general. Anything else?
I don't think so.
You got caught up on your sleep. I didn't because of Wordle.
Oh, yeah. Buddies asked last night about the game, and I just said right now, Duke, Kentucky, like this is men versus boys. Duke will be all right, but Kentucky's got some men. I mean, and you look at how happy those fans were when they're making the run, and I'm like, they sort of been asking for it because of the way Cal was, but he, still had success. But it doesn't take that much for that, how vast that fan base is. So
Catlanta. They were in Catlanta last night, right?
Oh yeah.
That's their spot.
Yep. So SEC hoops, boy. Woo-hoo.
Going to learn a little bit about Alabama coming up here. They've scuffled by their first couple of games. They got way too much talent to be winning close games the way they are, and they got a heavy schedule coming up.
I don't know if are they all the way healthy? I know they had a couple guys nicked up in camp. I'm not making excuses for them.
No.
They're not going to make excuses either.
And by the way, it's November. It doesn't matter. Play good schedules. Get beat. It doesn't matter. You'll earn. You're not going to be penalized. The stat I wanted to get to before you get to whatever you're going to say, Billis made the point. Kentucky's youngest starter is older than Duke's oldest starter. But that's funny too, because Duke looked down their nose with great disdain at Cal and Kentucky in the one and done deal, and then they realized, we're going to be real average if we don't do the same thing, and then they became a one and done factory themselves. So sometimes you just kind of got to adapt or die.
And slowly they've gone to the grad guys, and now they got a couple good pieces that I really like that they brought in. That'll help them over the course of a season. But watching the game, and Bills and Schulman are a crew as good as there is, and then I watched the Kentucky game prior, and no one can not mention Pope and analytics. They're like analytical approach. We think about the BYU teams, and I need a little more, because when you're saying analytics and it's Pope, it's Nate Oates, it's Shire. And when I watch their teams and I hear analytics, all I could say is, okay, you shoot every open three. That's what I take from analytics.
Uh-huh.
I know there's more. But
what?
That's all I think of now. It's like every time. So their team shoots every single open three, whereas other teams don't do analytics.
I think it's about shot clock, how much time, and mostly though you're right. So
I've always said, all right, here's a team. They violate the 3-point line. They're going to shoot every single one, right?
Good.
And now we've seen a lot of it.
Well, if you can pass, dribble, and shoot, that's always the thing that seems counterintuitive to think that not everybody could. Watch teams. Not everybody can. When all your guys can pass, dribble, and shoot, then you can space the floor, and then every three is a good three. But I would say not necessarily if you watched Kansas and Michigan State. I watched them shoot a buttload of threes, and very few of them went in.
Yeah.
And sometimes the old line of there's a reason why you're open because they want you to take that shot. But with teams like Bama and Pope's BYU teams, no, their bigs can make threes as well.
Yeah.
It's just a different approach to the game. It's sort of the modern approach to the game.
Just hope it's more watchable. I'm a tough night in and night out as much as we watch.
Yep.
Don't want to Don't have to start giving out Pooptown in college hoops.
Not doing that. It's strictly an NFL thing, and it's crowded. It's definitely crowded. And I love that teams' fan bases out there. You caught on. It's almost like it's like a self-loathing. You want to be. You don't want to avoid it because if you're close, if you're poop adjacent, you might as well just go full on Pooptown. Embrace the poop. As opposed to, no, we're Indianapolis. We're 4-4. We're going to go Flacco. Oh, we lose 2. I just put in. They're not. See, they're stuck. You're not good. You're not in Pooptown. You're just sort of in this middling place. Suspended animation. That's not where you want to be. I suppose that's probably true. But if you're a Bears fan, now you've just this was the week you just like, wait, we under $150, 3 points against New England, firing coordinators, cutting starting offensive linemen. Give me the Pooptown merch. Wheels in motion on that. Shout out to my guy Fieri. Getting the wheels in motion. Got to figure it out. I want to know this. This is a serious question. People would really wear a shirt that said Pooptown?
Absolutely.
Now, do we go poop emoji? I say we go with the origin of Pooptown, which is just a picture of a row of porta potties. That is the original Pooptown.
I think Pooptown with the porta potties.
So it says Pooptown.
Yes.
Maybe one of the O's is the poop emoji. And then,
or both O's.
Okay, so we're working.
And the O in town or no?
Maybe just the poop.
Okay.
We're workshopping this here. This is important. So poop, 2 poop emojis, town, and then a
nice the year after the season. We're going to put the teams in there, and then you get the team logos.
Probably the NFL would stop us from doing that. I'm guessing the NFL doesn't want Pooptown and their logos on merch. But you just have a big old picture of rows and rows of porta potties and Pooptown. People that know. Is anyone buying that?
Yes.
Okay, what are you paying for it? Now we got to establish a price point.
These T-shirt prices are getting a little absurd because you know what we don't know? The quality of the T-shirt. Careful here.
Here at SVPod, our T-shirts are made only of the finest quality. The softest fabrics and the most...
You leaning towards the dry fit or 100% cotton soft? Because I have comments on both.
I'm Under Armour for life. Shout out to my guy KP. I think for this shirt, the 100% cotton might be the way to go because I don't think you're working out in this. I think you're just wearing it. So maybe and I'm sure that
imagine seeing a guy at the gym in a Pooptown shirt.
That's what I'm saying.
On the treadmill, getting it in.
Yeah, working it out.
Or the elliptical.
Working it out on the guy on the elliptical. Pooptown. No one's doing that. If you tell me you would.
Don't say no one.
Someone.
Multiple.
How many someones? This is a call to action. I just need you to say to me, we're in for a gross of Pooptown shirts because that's all we really need. And then you throw the logo on it. We got our guy.
You're running out of real estate.
No, I'm saying we get multiple. We're not just selling Pooptown shirts. We're going full merch. We got to find out, will Roche allow us to use our images?
Oh.
Does that mean he gets a cut? See, this stuff gets complicated. I admire the people.
Who gets the cut?
I don't know. Probably whoever. I mean, it's his art. He drew it.
Peyton?
No, Peyton gets nothing. Peyton, you got enough fucking money. You're not getting you don't own Pooptown. That's my intellectual property. Invented it. But the graphics for the pod and then we got to figure it out, man. Seriously, the people that are
I need beanies.
The Barstool folks that do the merch.
Oh, they're incredible.
And I'm sure
they got good shirts too.
And I'm sure they make a ton of dough. I'm not kidding when I'm like, Guy would always say to me, you have such cool logos. Why don't you sell stuff? Well,
that was only 14 years ago?
I've left some money on the table. We got to find out who owns what. I know we trademarked this. We're doing it.
All right.
Just tell me you're in for Pooptown merch, and then we're gonna get it going. How long? I don't know. This will probably never happen. I'll forget as soon as I walk out of here. But I'm gonna try to remember.
Lunch?
Who's in? Everybody?
Yeah. Good crew.
All right. We got a good crew for lunch. We're on the way out. Have a good week.
Athens. Stand up. Chucks. Thursday night.
Come to Chuck. Steve's making an appearance. He'll sign all his merch. See you in Athens. I'll see you right here. Feeling kind of sick.
Uh-oh.
Not going to be.
Medicine ball.
Ooh, I need one.
They're right next to breakfast.
All right, we're out.